Hey everyone, my name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at some entitled parent stories, so sit back, relax and enjoy. Entitled mother demands pizza for her kids after school says no. I used to be a pizza delivery driver for, let's call them, Father Jonathan's. I did this for nearly a year and oh boy were there some fun people you run into. Now, the subject of our story today is a very entitled mother who has a very interesting claim to a random pizza girl. Shall we begin? So it's Valentine's Day and we have a special on a heart-shaped pizza. I get an order for a school nearby. Cool, right? Except it's not. The total was $0, meaning that it's a remake. But I had been there since opening and hadn't seen that order come through before. So I asked my manager who was working that day. Oh yeah, it's for some lady who said it was never delivered. I just shrug and go about my day. Make the pizza, cut the brownie, cut the other pizza, bag it up, clock it out, put it in my car and leave. Knowing full well I'm not getting a single tip on this one, but at least it's close and I can wash my hands of the situation. I get to the school and park. I hated to deliver there because the office was up a huge flight of stairs and carrying a huge pizza bag was not fun. I get up to the desk and give the name on the receipt to the school lady. It's for a student. Great. So I'm going to have to wait for this kid, but here is where it gets good. The school secretary says, "I think that's a student here." Oh, okay, I can wait. The secretary does a typey thing on the computer and her face gets confused. Actually, that's not a student. Can you call the number? So I go ahead and call the number. Here is where our woman of the house enters. Hello? Yes, ma'am, this is your Father Jonathan's pizza delivery driver. I'm just calling to make sure I have the address right. Well, you are at the school, right? Yes, ma'am. Well, quit wasting my time. Just give it to my son. He should be at the school. The secretary starts to shake her head. No, the students aren't allowed deliveries from outside the school. She can't do that. Me to the entitled mother, I'm sorry ma'am, but the school is saying that I am not able to make the delivery because they don't allow outside deliveries. Well, how else am I going to feed my triplets? This is at a high school. I'm so sorry ma'am, but... So what? You're just going to let my baby starve? Ma'am, I am so sorry, but I have to follow school policy. You know you guys did this yesterday too, and they went without lunch then too. It's your fault if they don't eat again today. Me and the secretary are just kinda shocked. My fault her triplets aren't being fed? I'm sorry ma'am, but I cannot go against the school's policy. No, it's your fault. My babies are going to starve for the second day in a row because you idiots can't just deliver a pizza to them. I apologize ma'am, but you are just going to have to call the store and speak to my manager. This is out of my hands. Entitled mother hangs up and the poor desk lady just shakes her head. She did that yesterday too, and even if we didn't have that rule, the boys left with their friends. The friends had spotted them lunch even before the pizza got there. So I just took the pizzas back to the store. I had to look at the receipt to see how much she'd originally paid for 2 pizzas and a brownie. She paid $42. $42 for 2 pizzas and a brownie. Lady, go to Walmart and get stuff at PB&J for like under $10. My fault, her probably really nice kids didn't eat that day. Okay, Karen. My manager only laughed and rolled her eyes. She said we could just eat the pizza if she never came to get them. Well, I enjoyed every slice of it. So, somewhere out there, there are 3 teen boys that I starved because I couldn't deliver a pizza. Sorry guys. Surely she would have to perfectly time the delivery to when they're on break at lunch or break time or whatever it is, because otherwise they're gonna be in lesson when they're getting the pizza delivered. Entitled Mother is immediately shut down. So, for backstory, I was at a cinema and had front row tickets. I was watching the second Maleficent. I think it's Maleficent Mistress of Evil, but that's irrelevant to the story. I had popcorn, but that's also irrelevant. I was sitting next to a family with the whole shebang of kids, parents, and grandparents. Entitled Mother walks in with her kid and sees me and the person on the other side of me, who is a girl my age. She walks up to us. "You two need to move out of our seats." Well, this is my seat, so no. Same here. Move now. Already impatient after like 10 seconds. I'll pass. Has no one taught you two to respect your elders? The presumably grandma next to me asks to see my ticket and sees it's my seat. She asks the same of the girl next to me and the same outcome. She then turns to the entitled mother. "Leave these two alone, they are sitting in their seats." Who asked you for your opinion, you archaic POS? I believe you said to respect your elders, and I am certainly your elder. Entitled Mother goes red and turns on her heel and stomps off to her seat, which is only 1 row back. Wow. I think you should respect your elders if your elders respect you, mutual respect. You should have just let him see your dog. My wife and I lived in an apartment for a few years due to us saving for a house. We lived in a cheaper apartment so we could really sock away money to put toward a house we both liked. Well, I was in my last semester of college, and I was still working at the daycare I mentioned in my last story. There was a kid that went to the daycare that stayed in my apartment complex. This boy would always show up at our door. The cast: me just trying to watch Netflix and drink my sweet tea, W my beautiful wife, K the kid that can't take a hint, and EM the entitled mother. So the kid showed up periodically to see if I would play with him and his younger siblings. I literally never did because I figured I did it one time and then he would expect it daily. So I started saying no, and then it got to the point where my wife would answer and say I wasn't home. He found out which car was mine, so he stayed away until he saw me walking my new dog at the time one day. He asked if he can pet it and I said yes. Then the unwanted visitations escalated. "Hey, Mr. OP, let me see your puppy." "Hey, buddy, I've had a long day, I gotta go, maybe some other time." Well, that worked for a while until one Saturday in particular, he comes knocking at my door. I go to answer it and my dog was in the bedroom with my wife and they were napping. He asked if he could see the dog and I said no and that everyone but me was sleeping. This boy rolled his eyes and said, "Nah, I'm tired of not being able to see your dog." He ran into my apartment and ran straight for the bedroom. He wakes up my wife screaming, saying, "Where's the dog?" I was in shock. This boy had really run up in my apartment. So my wife is trying to cover herself with a blanket, my dog is losing his mind, and the kid is trying to pet the dog. Well, my dog snapped at him. The kid took his shoe off and then threw it at my dog. So at this point, I'm realizing what is happening. So I walk over to the kid, pick him up like a baby in a cradle and walk him to the patio. I told him this wasn't okay and he needs to stay away from my apartment. Well, cue his mum stomping up the stairs. "Oh heck no," is the only thing I hear before this woman comes up and gets directly in my face. She lets me explain nothing, just keeps screaming how I will not talk to her kid like that, and she's going to tell the daycare and get me fired. When I finally got a chance to talk and explain what happened, this woman looked me dead in the eye and said, "Why didn't you just let him see the dog? This is so stupid." She then opens my apartment door and yells for my wife to bring out the stupid dog. Her son ran back in, and this time my wife was ready, and she picked him up and put him on the porch. I told her to lock the door, and I stood out on the patio getting chewed out. My wife then called the police because it was getting out of hand. While I was trying to get this lady to get off my patio and take her child with her, the cop showed up. He wouldn't let my kid see his dog. He had to do something to see the dog, so he ran in. I told the officer I didn't want to press charges because it really didn't make sense to mess up a kid like that because he was being dumb. He was probably 8 if I remember correctly, and that was too much. Well, the mum called the daycare right after and pitched a fit, and I got called into a meeting with her and the kid. The mum fabricated this whole story, how I said I was going to show him my dog and that I was breaking the promise and the kid got upset. When I got asked about my side, I just looked at the kid. "Did I ever promise you that?" The kid said, "No." The mum got so mad at the kid. She then claimed he had emotional trauma from the situation and asked for a free month of tuition. She didn't get it. After that day, I told my boss that I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice and he would need to start training my assistant manager to take over. That really sucks because it's going to be really hard to take the dog out for walks in that area again, but maybe they moved or maybe the kid learned his lesson. Entitled mother loses kids. Back in the early 90s, I worked at a video game store. You've never heard of it, trust me. Like most stores of this kind in the early 90s, we had several TVs and consoles set up and allowed people to try games. As one would naturally expect, when kids walk by a store and see other people playing SNES, NES, and Genesis games, they wanted to play too. As one would also naturally expect, this caused a number of loitering children to hang about the store all day, begging to ask to play games. Finally, owner has had enough. We're told to not allow anyone not an adult to play games until after 1 PM, and a no unaccompanied minors allowed under the age of 13 to keep most of the little kids away. One morning, I'm opening the store at 10 AM, straightening displays, dusting shelves, etc., when a woman comes into the store with 2 little kids, maybe 8 or 9, bends over and gives them each a peck on the cheek and starts to leave. Me calling after her, "Excuse me, you can't leave your kids here." "Oh, I'll be back in a couple of hours. I have an interview." We're not babysitters and we're not here to watch your kids." "They'll be fine, they just want to play the games. I really gotta go." Entitled mother proceeds to leave. Me practically yelling down the mall, "You can't leave them here, we're not here to watch your kids." Entitled mother keeps walking. I call the owner and the owner says to call security. I call security and security call police. 10 minutes later and 2 officers show up and eventually get name information etc. out of the kids. Police confirm mum is not in fact in the mall. I have told them she said that she'd be back in a couple of hours. so an officer takes up station across from the store to await the return. A little before 1 PM, Mum comes back into store and starts freaking out because, surprise surprise, her kids are gone. Officer arrests the mum. Mum is taken from mall in handcuffs. I heard later that the kids were given to the father for custody. Mum was charged with child endangerment. I left the store shortly after that. I heard later that several others had tried to drop off kids at the store for babysitting. The new retort was, yeah, you can leave them here, but the last mum that did got arrested. I think that might be good enough to stop mums from leaving their kids there, but then again, probably not after seeing some of these stories. Wow, look on screen right now, those two videos look really good. You gotta click one of them if you want to see some other stories like that.